Hello everyone, this is Jason. I want to make a video today about 9/11. I know, right? Jesus Christ, Jason. I don't want to hear any more about 9/11. It's boring. I don't want to hear your crazy fucking conspiracy theories. It was 19 Arab hijackers, 15 of which were from Saudi Arabia. They overtook 4 airliners almost simultaneously in the skies of America, flew around for an hour or so, and crashed 2 of them into the World Trade Centers, bringing those buildings down. And 1 crashed in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and 1 hit the Pentagon. Jason, it's over. Stop talking about it. It's not a conspiracy theory. We don't want to hear any more about conspiracy theory. We're all online. We all can type in 9/11 was an inside job, 9/11 conspiracy theory, 9/11 questions, and you'll come up with 7,000 articles, 700 books, 7,000 documentaries. We don't want to hear you talk about 9/11. We're just not interested. And that's the general tone that I feel like is happening right now in America. Nobody wants to discuss 9/11. Even conspiracy people who know there was something wrong with 9/11 don't want to talk about 9/11 being an inside job anymore. I think partially, I'm not going to overanalyze this, but I think partially it has to do with fatigue, 9/11 fatigue. People were so sick of it, they don't want to hear about it anymore. And also, the 9/11 conspiracy community was turned into a joke. It was turned into a punchline with people like Charlie Sheen, with people like Alex Jones, with other people that were independent that that would conflate other conspiracies with 9/11, people that were everything from the school shootings that were happening to public shootings that were happening, comparing them to 9/11, and then tying the moon landings into 9/11 and then the moon landings get tied into the flat earth, and then JFK gets tied into everything, and it loses its meaning. It just seems ridiculous. It's an oversimplification of history, and people generally disregarded conspiracy theories, especially 2004, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It became a fatigue issue, and now conspiracy theories aren't cool anymore. They were for a while. The video game Grand Theft Auto 5, the recent Grand Theft Auto 5, the whole thing, it's filled with, David Icke references and, to shape-shifting reptilians and that was also conflated with 9/11. David Icke would do these seminars that were 8 hours long or 6 hours long at Brixton Academy. And he would do these, and for the first 6 hours, he would tell you truth and tell you about the Bush family and tell you about 9/11, and then he would lay into an hour of shape-shifting reptilians and how the Queen was actually a shape-shifting reptilian, and they transfer back forth through DNA, totally making shit up, total science fiction. And it got conflated with 9/11, so everybody thought 9/11 conspiracy theories. Now, whether David Icke works for the government or not, I have no idea. I don't care. But he did a job. You can't deny the job that he did. He pushed a lot of people away from thinking 9/11 was an inside job, because there's no way. Even me, I liked David Icke early 2000s. And then then you'd get to the shape-shifting stuff, and you'd start to look into it, and you'd realize it's madness. And it reminds me of the flat earth being conflated with the moon landings hoax. I have one question for any moon landing advocates. Why has no other country done it in 45 years other than the United States? 45 years, no other countries replicated the technology. Why not? That's my biggest question. No one can really answer it for you. So, is America so superior technologically? No. America has more money than everybody else? Okay, but that's still not an excuse why another country or groups of countries wouldn't get together and go to the moon. And then you have NASA's own contradiction about how we need to figure out a way to get human beings through the Van Allen radiation belts safely. What? I mean, go watch NASA. There's a NASA video you can watch of a NASA saying, we're studying the Van Allen radiation belts so we can safely get human beings through them to get to other planetary bodies. And I'm going, wait a minute, didn't we do it 6 times between 1969 and 1972? But the flat earth gets conflated with all of that. We all know the flat earth is complete horseshit. There's no validity to the flat earth at all. None. No scientific evidence for it. None. It's completely made up, manufactured, and I believe by NASA. I believe they conflated it with the moon hoax, so it would make anybody that ever questioned the moon would get labeled with this flat earth bullshit. Flat earth is complete insanity. It's nuts. It's not scientific. It's not reasoned. It's not rational. It's not investigated, and has no validity. But of course, if you're a moon landing advocate, if you're a moon landing hoax advocate, then you must be a flat earther. And so 9/11 and it's a pejorative, and it's used as a pejorative. So, and the conspiracy theorist label. And that's what's happened with 9/11. We're only 16 fucking years away from 9/11. 16 years, that's it. 16. If a kid was born on 2000, he would just be able to drive a car right now. it's still within it's still right there in our rearview mirror. We can still see those buildings crumble in our minds. You don't even have to close your eyes. You can still see those buildings. You can still see the Trade Center, and you can still see the smoking Pentagon. You can still see it in your bed. I know you can. And we don't talk about it. We don't investigate it. And now Donald Trump is using 9/11 as a reason to ban Muslims and up the ante on this war on terror and increase the Pentagon budget. It's ironic to me on a couple of different fronts, but the main one is that the right-wing conspiracy theorists who voted for Donald Trump, the right-wing alternative media guys, buy into Donald Trump. This guy is saying that 9/11 was Arab hijackers, Muslim hijackers, not the Bush administration, the Central Intelligence Agency, and the Pentagon, all together in a coordinated effort to there's two theories. Either they made it happen, meaning they planned, fomented it, etc., or they let it happen. It was already in the works, and that they stood down in key areas and they let the hijackings happen. Either way, they are complicit, and they had an agenda. That agenda, and when conspiracy theorists, even if you bring in tons of evidence, you show mainstream, you bring in evidence and all these weird coincidences that should not have happened many times together, people will still deny it. The mainstream will still claim that it was Osama bin Laden from a cave in Afghanistan, which has never been proven, that he, ordering 19 guys, or it was supposed to be 20, but Zacharias Moussaoui just gets busted at the airport, and he then, all of this horse shit story. Then you can throw in the way they just fuel the conspiracy theories, by the way, the government, the military, the industrial complex, the intelligence communities. They kill Osama bin Laden. They don't show his face. They have a picture of him from behind watching TV in Pakistan. Then they bury him. They kill him and not capture him, because if they were that close, they could have captured him. And then you could have gotten actual intelligence about how they did 9/11, how you planned. Nope, none of that. You then take him and you kill him and you bury him at sea. I mean, and you can justify it because Muslims are buried at sea occasionally. So it's complete madness. And they just feel the conspiracy. And we're all nuts that think conspiracy theories are real. We're all crazy that we think that these people have a plan. Then you see something like, and I'll just put it as an example, Leon Panetta, who was head of the CIA, there was an article written, it was in Rolling Stone, and I made a video about it, about how the movie Zero Dark 30, essentially, Leon Panetta, I believe, and the CIA planned that whole fake bin Laden raid. It was completely fake with SEAL Team 6. I mean, completely fake. They completely faked that whole thing, and it probably invaded someplace in Pakistan, went into a house, stirred some shit up, took a picture, and then took somebody from behind that could have been anybody and put it and did this whole thing. And this article, mainstream, contends that maybe Leon Panetta had that done because the writer of Zero Dark 30 was going to go over and talk about how we couldn't capture bin Laden. And that he needed an ending for his movie, and Leon Panetta actually contacted him, and he actually went over after all this was over with the CIA's protection. And of course, we know the movie Zero Dark 30 is a complete pro-CIA movie, much like the movie Argo, complete propaganda, probably paid for through subsidiaries, through different producers, probably paid for by the Pentagon or the Central Intelligence Agency, more likely. And this. And that's what Zero Dark 30 was advocating. It advocated torture, that torture worked. It advocated that Osama bin Laden was responsible for 9/11 completely. It was a complete propaganda job. And the movie Zero Dark 30 essentially was made, this article points all of this out, that Leon Panetta actually was worried that the ending, they were writing this thing, but they had no ending. They had no ending to Zero Dark 30, and and it was actually about how America couldn't find Osama bin Laden post 9/11. Well, that changed, didn't it? When Leon Panetta made a phone call, and all of a sudden Osama bin Laden gets captured. Boom. And then they kill him. It's complete. It's Hollywood fiction. And that's exactly what reality and art blurred together to create a propaganda arm that people will consider to be official. This is what the CIA does. The Pentagon is there's been documentaries made about this, books written about how the Pentagon, funds movies and will only allow you to use their material if they like the script and it's pro-military. Allow them to use your tanks or ships or, the logos or whatever. 9/11 has become, and now Trump is using 9/11 every chance he gets. He's using it to justify Yemen, which is a Saudi-backed war. He's using it to justify, or it's a Saudi war that we're backing Saudi Arabia, the failure in Yemen, that recent failure. He's using it to as the excuse. He said it over and over again, to continue this fake war on terror, to ban Muslims, to go overseas and continue to carpet bomb any place he chooses to go, and to kill innocent people and kill civilians. What Al-Awlaki's, we just killed his daughter. We just killed a 9-year-old. We just killed a 9-year-old in bombing raids. In Afghanistan last year, 1,000 children died. 1,000 children died between the fighting of the American and the other countries that are there, and the people that were supposedly fighting the terrorists. 1,000 just children casualties. Just children. Innocent children died. 1,000. All because of 9/11. This false, and how many tens of thousands, Christ, how many hundreds of thousands of people have died? How many millions of people have been displaced? How many tens of millions of people have been displaced? Their countries destroyed, their lives ruined because of the lie of 9/11. And we can't even talk about it in this country anymore on any honest terms. I'm watching Democracy Now! They won't talk about 9/11 being an inside job anymore. Reality News, Real News Network, all other alternative news, they will not talk about 9/11 being an inside job. They will not do it. When it's the crux of everything. It's the absolute, if we don't know who did 9/11, if we continue to pretend that it was 19 Arab hijackers all planned from Osama bin Laden, there was no help from the United States military, if we continue down this road when much evidence points the other direction, then how do we, then everything we do is based on a lie. Then it makes sense that a president like Donald Trump would be president, because he's a liar. Donald Trump is a total lying douchebag. He's an absolute liar. So our whole foreign policy is based on a war on terror that isn't real, that is based on an event that was probably planned by the Central Intelligence Agency, and people inside the Bush administration were used to help execute it. And I'm talking about Dick Cheney. I'm talking about Donald Rumsfeld. I'm talking about people that you know. They knew. Dick Cheney knew where. Dick Cheney is considered by many to be one of the better politicians in Washington in the last 30 years. He knew every department. He knew how things operated. He knew which papers needed to be filled out to get things done, laws changed, things passed. He knew how the sausage was made. He was the perfect inside man to be the go-between between the CIA and the government to allow 9/11 to happen. And 9/11 is something that has to be reinvestigated. Instead, I'm watching the Real News Network, and they're not doing it, but another group is doing it. It's the People's Tribunal about the Iraq War. The Iraq War is all based on the lie of 9/11. If you can't do a People's Tribunal of 9/11, then what good does a People's Tribunal of Iraq do? Number one, it's just a waste of time and money and space, or time and money and energy and brains and passion and all of these things that should be funneled towards 9/11. I know, you're a nutter conspiracy theorist, Jason. You're an idiot. We don't have to listen to you because your 9/11 conspiracy theories are hollow, but they're not. We can talk about the TSA. We can talk about the official report redacting 33 pages from Saudi Arabia about Saudi Arabia. We can talk about how the buildings fell, the NIST report being changed. We can talk about the irregularities of how the building fell. We can talk about all those things. We can talk about who really benefited from 9/11. We could talk about the Project for a New American Century, who said, in order for America to go overseas into the Middle East and have never-ending warfare, and I'm paraphrasing, we need to have a catalyzing event like a new Pearl Harbor. And just so happens that 9/11 then happens, and the very people who wrote the Project for a New American Century went in before 9/11 happened. After the Project for a New American Century documents were written, they went into the State Department and the Defense Department. The two things you would need to control if you wanted to have 9/11 be an inside job. So all of this reminds me, when I watch this and no one talks about 9/11, no one brings it up as a conspiracy. When Donald Trump brings up 9/11 and is going to use it as the platform for this continued war against terror, fake war against a war against an idea. I mean, it's not against a state. It's against these multinational supercells, whatever you want to call them, sleeper cells, and then there's the ones that aren't the lone wolf one, all this bullshit. It's all for the Pentagon. The Pentagon doesn't have communism to fight anymore. It needed something to fight. And 1984 predicted this. I mean, the book 1984, it's now the most sold book in America for the last 2 months. It's hopefully people are actually reading it and realizing, or just listening to it on audio tape. I don't care what they do, but they need to ingest it. Showing we've always been at war with Eurasia. It's terrorism that we're fighting. That's what it is. Because you can fight terrorism forever. There will always be a budget to fight terrorism. Communism, the Berlin Wall fell. The main communism threat is over, so you can't have that anymore. So you got to have something. And no enemy, no money. And the idea that Donald Trump, who's the greatest liar that this president, that by far has ever been president, I mean, he is one of the truly great liars. He's so misinformed, and he's such a devious human being. I mean, with him making money he's pushing Ivanka Trump's crap. He went after Nordstrom's. He's gone after Macy's. Kellyanne Conway goes and promotes Ivanka Trump's fucking shit while she's got the presidential seal behind her. These people are venal, corrupt, awful, low rent, low budget slumlord. All they want to do is climb over their dead mother to fuck their sister to make a buck. And now they're using now these scaly fucks are using 9/11 to justify all this shit when 9/11 was an inside job, and it needs to be reinvestigated by a people's tribunal, or it needs to be acknowledged again that it was. Building 7 needs to be remembered. We need to remember what the fuck happened to building number 7. Was it pulled down? Were explosives in it and it was exploded and brought down? Because that's what everyone says there was. That's what everyone said. I mean, that's what you can see the firefighters talking about it. You can see Silverstein talking. Oh no, they just meant pull. Pull what? Pull the firefighters out? Pull them? Pull it? You're referring to the firefighters as it? It doesn't make any sense. They pulled the building. They put it down. Then they had to change the story because it didn't make any sense. They're not perfect. These people are human beings. They make mistakes. Things get into films. Things get into video. Things get into the media that aren't supposed to be there, but they do get in there. Truth does come out. It's always listening to people say, why hasn't anyone talked about, the Kennedy assassination? Why hasn't anyone talked about the NASA moon landings? Or why doesn't anyone talk about 9/11? People do talk about it all the time. People do come out. People that do know about this shit come out all the fucking time. No, did the guy that fucking planned it? How many people? I mean, do you really think that's the way it works? It's a military operation. The one thing the military is about is rules and order and following directions and following orders. You don't follow orders, you get killed or put in prison. So, and there's been enough, like I said, go investigate 9/11 if you want. If you haven't already, if you still believe that it was 19 Arab hijackers that hijacked those planes, then you should really educate yourself about this. And when Donald Trump is using 9/11 yet again, and all these people and these alternative right-wing guys who were all 9/11 conspiracy theorists, all of them to the person, aren't anymore because Donald Trump's president, and then he uses 9/11 to justify a fake war on terror, that should give you alarm bells that you voted for a guy or you supported a guy or you think a guy is not what he is. Now, I can see if you're a Law and Order goon. I can totally understand if you're a George Bush, Law and Order right-winger idiot who thinks, who doesn't believe 9/11 was an inside job and believes it was there Muslims and them damn Muslims we got to get. I understand those people voting for Trump. But I don't understand the alternative right-wing conspiracy theorist type supporting Trump or anybody that thinks 9/11 was an inside job because he's using 9/11 as his springboard, as George Bush did, to do whatever he wants to do. The problem with that is it's not 2002 or 2003, it's 2017. Nobody's numb from watching those buildings fall over again and are willing to give a blank check to Donald Trump. And on the other side of that coin, nobody can discuss that 9/11 was an inside job either because it makes you look like a crazy conspiracy theorist. So politicians can't talk about it. The media can't talk about it. Nobody can say the emperor is naked when it concerns 9/11. Nobody can. And we're still, even the real news network, even Democracy Now!, who's had the guys from Loose Change on, who has talked about it, they are letting this go. Stop what you're doing, do a video, stop what you're doing if you're Democracy Now! Or you're the Real News Network or you're any of these other leftist news, and make movies and talk about how 9/11 was an inside job and a lie. It's only 16 years ago. Everybody's still alive. It's not like the Kennedy assassination. Or the moon landings even, or any other conspiracy you may not want to investigate in that people are dead. Everyone's still alive from 9/11. and we can investigate it. We could have you could do this whole thing. But now Trump, the greatest liar in American history, presidential history, after just being president less than a month, is using 9/11 as his excuse to ban Muslims. And that then he uses also to enable to go over to Yemen and to other countries and continue what Obama was doing and what Bush was doing, bombing other countries that are sovereign, and you're running drone strikes into, like Pakistan, etc. So thank you for listening. And I'm sorry, if you don't like the conspiracy theories, then I get it. I understand. Some of them are stupid and ridiculous. Shape-shifting reptilians, fucking aliens, fucking bogged down with stupidity and dumb shit. But then you get to the ones that really affect our daily lives and really affect who we are going to be as a people, and how we're viewed around the world. How do you think white people are going to be viewed in 5 or 6 years from now? How do you think they're being viewed now? How do you think Americans are going to be viewed? How do you think you're going to be looked at? I mean, we just continue this lie. We just continue these lies, and we're blaming people that didn't do it for something and we won't even investigate the crime that they're being accused of. And then we know the government lies to us. We don't trust politicians. We don't trust we don't trust the media, and they're the ones telling us that 9/11 was 19 airplane. It's like we're living we have two contradictory thoughts in our mind. And maybe that's a form of mental illness. I mean, it really is. It's leading to this. It's not critical thinking, and it's not clear thinking. It's fuzzy thinking. And I see it happen now with Trump again, because Obama didn't use 9/11 as a bludgeon. Trump is using it as a bludgeon. And if he wants to use it as a bludgeon, fine, but people have got to start talking about, hey, 9/11 was an inside job. And what's even more disappointing to me is that none of the leftists will ever talk about this. From your Sam Cedars to your David Packmans to your Jimmy Dores to anybody that has 100,000 plus subscribers or in that ballpark, your Stephanie Millers, I can point out many of these other people Ed Schultz's people, some of these people I like, some I don't, but they will never talk about 9/11 being an inside job. Never, not ever, because they'll be considered crazy, and then they'll be even more marginalized. They'll be pushed more to the margins. And when it's the crux of our foreign policy for the next 100 years and we can't talk about it anymore, we won't talk about it anymore, it's confusing to me. Thank you for listening and have a good day.